ingakhali inziki zimadoda, izulu liyazongoma, ingakhali inziki zimadoda, izulu liyazongoma.
For me, a name change in South Africa and in KwaNojoli in particular is important because it's a form of restorative justice. You must remember, when the Europeans came to South Africa, in the Cape in particular, they didn't find what you would call a tabula rasa, which is a blank slate. These places were called something by the people who were living there. They themselves changed the names to suit their own culture, their own history, and everything. So that is why I'm saying, but it is kind of a form of a restorative justice. How far that goes, I do not know, because some other people will say, okay, you are restoring it to original names. But now, the original names were not part of it, but we're here now. So what must happen now? That question is a little bit tricky, but I think the first inhabitants, which in this place happen to be Khoi people or San people, have a right of first names, I think. That is why we call them first people. The names of the past of the first people have been suppressed first by the Xhosas, then by the Europeans. Nojoli was the first queen or a royal queen of King Khakab. As you would know, AmaXhosa have got two houses. There is one east of the Khai, which AmaXhosa call Inciba, and that is the royal house, AmaXalega. And then there is one west of the Khai, which is called AmaXhakab. The founder of the AmaXhosa nation west of the Khai was Khakab, King Khakab. King Khakab's first wife was Nojoli, and Nojoli is the mother of Mlao, who's the mother of Ngqika, who's the mother who bore Sandile. So that is the royal house of AmaXhakab west of the Khai River. So we know that she is the one that stayed in that area. In the past, AmaXhosa had things they call amadlelo, which is the grazing field. Amadlelo, because this field, even during the drought, they would never dry up because they were green valleys. When the Europeans came in numbers, they found Ngqika living on the banks of the Kumi River, which is close to the present-day Hogsback. AmaXhosa called it Kabimbol. So King Khakab had Idlelo, which is a grazing field, on the foot of what now we call Boschbeck Mountains. But AmaXhosa then called it Kelelela, Indaba Kelelela, because these mountains have fountains. So people will go to those fountains to drink and then to ka amanzi, Kelelela, and then they will give each other water. And even today, the one thing you get from Somerset, from people from Somerset, current KwaNojoli, they will tell you is that amanzi amandi apha Somerset, manzi amandi, which is like a tasty water. Later on, they were called also Indaba KwaNojoli because, as I told you, Queen Nojoli stayed there. There's a lot of talk about this area being changed from Somerset East, the town, to KwaNojoli. So I'm trying to find out if people know who this KwaNojoli was. You don't know? Yeah.
Hi, I'm JJ Botha. I've grown up in Somerset East.
We used to be Charles Street, Victory, which is now in Nojoli Street, but we are not changing our name because it's fourth generation, so we don't want to change our name, and business has still not been affected by the change of name of the town. So
wonderful. Who is this Charles the street was named after?
That I don't know.
Most of the people don't know anything who she was. And those who even know, they say, oh, there was a train that used to come from Cook House to Somerset East, and it was called Nojoli. And then others say, because you see the mountain is big, and it's got, especially in the evening and in the morning, it's always crowned with mist, like the Table Mountain. And so they call that mist itself Nojoli. But everybody has some inkling that she was a queen, but nobody knows a queen of what.
Indaba siqabuke thina kodwa KwaNojoli. Indaba enhle godi. Inhle ngantoni benke ndazama ukuvela nayo. Lenziwa kazi ifikele kwelicala. YanguNojoli lakona.
I believe in change because right through the whole world, in cities, towns, and even countries, changing their name. Because when it comes to this type of KwaNojoli, the majority of white people and colored people don't accept that name because they don't know about the history of that particular name. Black people know about it, but we have no clue of it. All we know about KwaNojoli is the street here, the train was here, KwaNojoli. People used to talk about we're going to KwaNojoli and so on, but they don't support. They change the name KwaNojoli.
Aba bantu ke bangasekhoyo. Kodwa bebesithi xa besebenza umhlaba beqhuba amagaba abanye bebethe ipeki baculele ingoma ukhelele lunzima unyuka umangonzima iyenyuka ke nyhani la ndawo yaphakathi obenyuka umangonzima yayingoma ke ngoku nathi sidibana nayo lunzima unyuka umangonzima ukhelele lunzima unyuka umangonzima
In oral history, people just knew that the whole area was called Nojoli. You see? So that is why everything that is, how can I say, that come from the area, they will say it comes from KwaNojoli, which is the area. So everything that is popular, known for Somerset, they will say that's a Nojoli thing, not Nojoli thing. So that's why they will say, even the train, they'll say, Uqabelu Nojoli, that is by, I'm writing Nojoli to, once a person says, I'm writing Nojoli, immediately people knew that you were going to Somerset East.
Because it was an excitement. Yes, it was an excitement. It was a real great joy. And I mean, there are untold stories, like, whether this is true or not, I don't know. But what Prophet Ochile, Babantu Abamnyama, wathi heha sayez dlula phansi kwentaba zikaNojoli. Zange ihleli igqithe apha.
I can remember as a child, we would know when Nojoli is coming in the morning because we were staying, our plot was next to the rail line. It was the line that we used to walk down to the school for my first year, that's a couple of months. So that KwaNojoli, it was our transport out of town, and even it took us over the bridge, it passed our place, they slowed down. Sometimes we jump off there.
Also, you were stopping the train.
Yeah, and then we jump down from that train.
When it slows down.
Yeah, it slows down by the bridge and the river was there and we jump off there.
Nice.
And the other one of our KwaNojoli, it was bringing for us fire. The coal.
Yeah. The coal, oh.
The coal that fall out of the train, collect it. And that was fire.
Oh,
that was our fire.
You keep warm during winter.
Keep warm during winter.
Ons bly maar daar in daai huise, daar in Adelaide op. Jy weet wat die stene net so gebou is maar net. En so het ons terug, ek trek my pa toe nou terug weer Somerset toe nou. En ek het agtergebly daar. Dan kom ek nou huis toe, my pa bly in Clifton. Dan kom ek nou huis toe, nou moet ek nou Nojoli kom, die trein. Ek moet nou opklim daar in Adelaide, die aand, met die passasier, om nog oorslaap in koekhuis. Daar so 'n kaggeltjie in koekhuis wat ons altyd wat hulle vuur gemaak het, dan moet jy nou sit daar. Tot die ander môre wat hy trein vertrek, dan kom klim ek af. En kriep dit.
Society. Ibisi lethu sisaphe site nansi site yethu apha eploti
kuthiwa nifike nibeke ikati.
xa beka ikani ke phaa sithulwe ikani beka ikani ithi xa iqalayo uhamba sistaphe sistaphe ke thina ke baphi.
I-Corner House yayingutatomkhulu likhalati nenkosikazi yakhe. Ndingabana babe nobuchopho obuninzi nantoni. And then ibe ngumzi wasekhaya othathe iziplots ezintathu. Ibe ngumzi wakwaDingana. Le ilapha ecaleni kwethu ivacant kuba ngeli xesha ke kusithathwa le mihlaba yethu kwaqala kwakhutshwa abantu abathile bakhutshwa kuthiwa basiwe emavetlisi abanye ezilokishini.
I do not think there is a place in South Africa that does not touch on land dispossession, especially when it comes to black people. The colonial wars, which are called the frontier wars, there were 9 of them that were fought. From the black point of view, we don't call those wars frontier wars because from the European point of view, the Cape Colony was a European frontier, but we call them the wars of land dispossession because it was about depriving black people land. You understand? This is the reason why black people call them wars of land dispossession. Somerset East, what became Somerset East, as I said initially, was inhabited and heavily populated at some stage when the Europeans come, because the Khoisan people and the Xhosa were aware themselves that these are rich valleys that everybody was competing with to plow and all those things. The fact that when Lord Governor Somerset, when he established the area, he called it to be a bread basket for his troops. He himself was feeding into what was already known, that this is where you go and plant your fields and all those things. And of course, to get that land, they had to remove people who were staying there. So when Colonel Johan Graham came and took the Cape Colony from the Dutch, after defeating the governor of the Dutch, his second instruction was to come to the Cape Colony and remove the black people on the so-called Zufert, which forms part, if you will start from Grahamstown, Somerset East, up to Cradock. Robert Hart, who owned the first farm that is called the Avalon Farm, was part of John Graham's soldiers. He was part of the people that came to remove the black people from present-day KwaNojoli and Somerset East. And that is how the land dispossession started. It became worse under apartheid regime because there were so-called black spots within the town of Somerset East, where black people had to be removed to form places of settlement for white people. And they wanted to create farms. You see where now there is a lot of commercial farms in KwaNojoli. Those farms were created by removing black people in those areas, which is what black people used to call eplots. You understand? And they were taken into the peripheries. Today we known as Umnandi townships.
1967, they start removing all the brown and black people out of that area. My father was a grandfather was a stubborn one, and only on 1969 they was able to come and remove them forcefully. And even after our school has been closed in that area, the morning when we go after Easter, there was no school, get home, everything was ready. Our things was just been packed on a truck. And we had to leave all our animals behind. Nothing was given to us to be taken up here from a big house with all our facilities up there. We had to leave everything, and they put us in a 2-room shelter up in this new area that they call today Westview. It was Stonefield those years. Only 2 rooms, 18 square meters. For my grandfather, me, my sister, and my one nephew. From there, because I was attending school, but for 6-7 years, 1976, those years, due to how my grandfather had to live, he passed away in 1976. He was not bitter, but he was very disappointed because there was nowhere or nobody was listening to his plight.
We were segregated, we were divided, black, white, colors at that time. But Somerset is starting that mix now. Even if you go to a place like Cookhouse, even if you go to a place like Pierston, it's amazing how people have now, started to unite once again. And it's all the locations basically are now having a little of every single race there, which is great to see.
John Khebe, uKhebe ngumpinga. Thina sasicula ngaye umpinga singabantwana. Sisithi impinga lamponda ka uvele sibone intetho. Yabona sithi impinga lamponda. Ka uvele ubone intetho because nobody was quite sure uyamazi umpinga.
Ininzi into ethethwayo. Ininzi into ethethwayo. It depends about kweliphi icala lecingo sometimes. So sometimes you would hear into abayibehlupha because ebesiba igusha ngeli cala lingapha but he was right wayesenza economic sabotage.
Abantu ababekhangeleka bemzondile kakhulu. De nathi sangabantu sakhula lingabelungu. Because befuna ukubamba this John Khebe ngezizathu zabo abaziphokozela thina bothuka abantu kakhulu xa wayesebanjiwe ke ngoku about 1955 kubokuthuka ufumana bashinje indoda bayazi
lo mntu kanti
ulilulama lo
kodwa ke wayephila ubomi oburayithi elabo mntu wayengabulali kanti kube idameli lapho emuseum emva komuseum singabantwana sihambe sogqubha ka ne-brothers zethu umane evele etshoni evele abone ngomnye nansi isigebenga sasesigebenga nansi isigebenga siqubula impahlana zethu baleke sumakanga kule bhakane la olacross ngaphezulu kanti ukhebe njani ukhebe ashiya afakileke sashiya.
John Khebe is almost a legend in Somerset East. A legend in the fact that he was a Xhosa, which is a villain when it comes to white people, because apparently what he used to do is to stay in the mountains, on the caves. His cave actually is still preserved on those mountains of Boschberg now. It's still properly preserved. And then he will come down to steal sheep from white farmers to feed himself. And then they said, but he did not feed himself, he distributed meat to other black people in need. The most interesting part is that during the day, he socialized with people. He even worked for the government. They did not know who he was, you understand? And then by the time they caught up with him and they realized who he was, everybody was so surprised. But we know him as a kind person. Why is he made into a valiant? So he's almost legendary when it comes to Somerset East.
I thought the name was suitable. And looking into the history here, the first reference I found was 1703, when a party of burghers from Cape Town came riding through here and met here with, of course, I'm Australian, I can't click. And there was a bit of a thing, and somebody tried to steal somebody else's cattle. But it was the Cape Town burghers who were stealing the Xhosa's cattle. But I do not believe that the area was called after a woman. Xhosa woman in those days, you were just the wife and the mother. She would not have been a princess from the reading I have done.
She would not have been
a princess. She would not have had an area called after her.
Yeah.
Women weren't very important in those days.
There is a misconception of regarding Xhosa culture and tradition as being patriarchal. Most people think that in the Xhosa culture, it's about men doing this and that and that. For us Xhosas, we know the power of women within our culture. You cannot do anything if you haven't spoken to women. And it's always been like that in Xhosa culture. I will tell you, for instance, Nkosi Ongqika, when his father, Mlawu, died, because Mlawu died when Nkosi Ongqika was still young. So Mlawu was the son of Nojoli, Queen Nojoli. So this is actually, the story of Khakab is Shakespearean, if you know what I mean. Let me just go back a little bit again so that you understand what I mean. When Nkosi Khakab settled in a present day called Ezeleni, just outside King Limstown, that was his first royal place west of Ikhaya. And he married Queen Nojoli, who was a princess of Abathembu, Amandungwane, actually. Do you understand? And he was his first wife and apparently the love of his life, because he respected her a lot, although he had a lot of wives. But wherever he was, you see Ezeleni, the distance between Ezeleni, which is, let's measure it with King Limstown, and Somerset East. Khakab, when he was taking decisions, serious decisions or national decisions, it was known that he will first send messengers to KwaNojoli and ask the wisdom of his wife, Nojoli, what do you think I should do here? So when Nkosi Khakab decided to attack the people that Queen Xhosa was married to, because they had provided him with a very, it felt the lobola was not adequate for Queen Xhosa. You understand? So he asked his wife, but what must I do? Because then it was an insult to send a small lobola to a king like Khakab. And Nojoli, Queen Nojoli, told him that, but let Xhosa stay with her people. Yawana, leave it. Nobody is going to think less of you just because you have taken a smaller lobola on that. But Khakab, for once, did not listen to his wife. And he went and attacked his daughters-in-laws, basically. I mean, his in-laws, his daughter's people. And why I say to you it's tragic and Shakespearean is because it is where Khakab actually died. So when he got there, he was so annoyed, he killed his son-in-law. And his daughter was so angry with him, she organized amabutho against him. And they followed him while he was going back to his royal place, and the armies clashed on the banks of the river, and that is where Khakab died. So basically, Queen Xhosa killed his own father. That is why I was saying to you, this is Shakespearean in a tragic sense. I am trying to answer the fact of thinking that women have no power in the Xhosa culture. You have no idea the kind of power women wielded in the Xhosa culture and royalty. And even today, if you're taking your son to the mountain, woe unto you if you don't talk to your wife first. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
Bekukwanhlutha ngathi andiyazi mna nje ihluthi ibingekho eyendalo to start with.
Besilima ke kulaa masimi besifumana amathanga, sifumana umbona,
amathanga bekaphezu kwendlu umbona bekhona okuthiwa ngamadlala ezanto kubekwe kanti ufaka umbona phaya nje
yayinkulu kuba lo mlambo inxuba nguwo ubanga abantu banqwenele ukusondela ngapha inquba yonke le especially ukusuka halfway from eKradok inquba yiyo ebifida lengini
nangoku asinanamanzi mnandi sinamanzi sinenyanga ezimbini 3 singenamanzi.
Le nto yokutshintshwa kweli gama wena ukwenze le nto
into yotshintshwa kwegama
from Somerset
It pained me when I was going through the streets of KwaNojoli, talking to people, asking them, what significance has this name change brought into your life? And most of them said, it has changed nothing in my life. My life still remains. I see no significance in the name change. And most of them were actually suspicious that somebody somewhere, a politician, is going to eat. They want to use money for corruption because of that. It's such a painful thing to see how the trust between the people and the politician is broken down. But to answer properly what I think the restorative justice of it, the restorative justice does not necessarily have to be material, because it can also be spiritual. If you restore a sense of dignity into a person, and then they can know that who they are matters, and then the material things they can do for themselves. I remember when the Jakes Gerwel Foundation invited me. I was driving from Kradok, and then I counted the grain trucks that I met in that, is it 37 or so kilometers from Kradok to Somerset East, now KwaNojoli. I think I counted about 18 to 20 trucks. And then I was saying to myself, this is still a bread basket, because these trucks are like transporting grain. So this place is still a bread basket. And then I was so shocked when I got into the town to see the poverty, the despair, especially among the youth. Like I could see, like sitting on the streets, drinking cheap wine. And then I'm thinking to myself, what is happening here? So among speaking to people in KwaNojoli, including farmers, by the way, I spoke to them, and then the farmers who have been farmers for generations, they say to me, look, for us, it's no longer profitable to use too much labor because everything is becoming automated here now. You understand? So unfortunately, our people around have not kept up with technology, have not adapted, have not acquired skills for themselves so that they can keep up with what is happening. Because we no longer need labor now. We need people who can operate machineries. And you're going to need fewer and fewer people. And there was a factory that had closed in town. I don't know, it was producing something that has something to do with ESCOM, providing ESCOM. And then they asked the municipality to subsidize them because they were not making profits. And the municipality refused. And then the factory closed. 200 people lost their jobs there. And the building is standing there now. It's getting vandalized. And all I can think is that perhaps in the future, if we had a caring and a proactive government, we could use that building as a TVET college to train people for skills. The closest TVET college from KwaNojoli is in Grafreinet. And that's how, you know how far that is. You understand? So this is why these young boys are just loitering the streets in KwaNojoli. It pains me when I see that.
If the past keeps on reminding you about hurtful events, you got to change it. it's the same as in your house. If you have a partner that abuse you in any form, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, whatever way abuse you, and you break up with that person, you don't keep photos of that person. You don't keep clothes of you. Don't even, you try and get rid of everything that reminds you of that person. And that's what the past is meaning to people now before me that has really undergone, the struggles of the apartheid era. It brings up evokes a certain kind of emotion.
I remember when the Jakes Gerwel Foundation invited me to come here, they told me that the name change in KwaNojoli has caused a lot of friction. He said, the CEO, Theo Kamp, said to me, do you think there is a way we can look into this thing in such a way that we can inform everyone why is it necessary to change this name that can promote social cohesion? And I thought to myself, that's quite interesting. I did not believe it was possible. But then after talking to some people, and many people actually, and then talking to them and asking them if there is any form of dignity they get from this, some told me that, but it is very important when we see our own names being recognized also. It heals us in a way because we can see that our history is being taken serious also. If you kill people's history, you kill their identity, you kill their sense of self, and that way you can dominate them, you understand? But if you acknowledge their history, you acknowledge their identity, and then you give them a sense of dignity, that they also are part of this town. And that is all we were trying to do with this video, that even if, though your history is not taught in schools, though your history is not on archives, we all know that the history is always told from the point of view of the victors. So we wanted to invent that thing, and then, but for the ones also that were defeated, we give them the sense of dignity of who they are, and make them to be part of that history, because they are part of that town. In all the streets when I go, I sometimes when I was staying, doing this project, staying in Paulet House, I would go for walks in the evenings. You get all these names, Charles, Somerset, all colonial British names. I only found one name that was Xhosa. Did not find any Khoi or San name. Surely there has to be something wrong with that.
In recent years, the ANC has been losing support because it hasn't, for whatever reasons, has not delivered on what I think people had hoped it would deliver on. What can it deliver on, and what can it look like it is delivering on? A name change, I think, it's a low-hanging fruit. It's an easy goal to score. And it might create the impression that lives are changing and that things are changing. And that impression might be a real one. Again, but it brings me back to my skepticism. Is it about restoring dignity? Is it about rewrite? Is it about filling in the gaps of history that were never filled in? Is it about redressing the past? Or is it about politics and scoring points? And that's the question that I grapple with all the time.
Really, this school still haven't got a sports field here, haven't got a hall here. We are so far in democracy.
30 years after 1994, yes. Nothing much has changed. This school is well resourced. It's got hockey fields, fields, 2 halls, and all that stuff. And the school across there in the township is still as it was. I think that this is not just a failure of misappropriation of resources, but it's also a failure of a political will to change things.
For the last 11 years, the school is performing between 80 and 100%. When I started here, it was 34%.
Wow.
And it's not because of me. I felt I just came to unlock the potential.
We need to heal ourselves. And the style to heal ourselves is to understand who we are, what happened in our history, and how to move forward.
I carry life. Life is in me. My shadow, dark as it is my halo. The halo of the globe. God saved life in me to extend His glory because He loves and wishes to pass His image to endless continuity that He made me to be. There is a star allocated to each of us. His attitude is sun-like. Even the darkest of times could never consume His sin and heavenly glory.
Abanye abantwana baboni badloni noni ithe kandabani abanye abantwana baboni badloni noni wena uxele ukutya kusefriji akbo badloni